and welcome. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint. I'm Pradeep Pandya.
Hi everyone, and I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza. Well, this is the show where we address all your stock queries. You can write to us on Twitter, Facebook, or just call us on 022-4540-4141. You can also mail us at askbq@bloombergquint.com with all your financial queries, and we'll try and address as many as possible on the show today. But just remember to add the Ask BQ hashtag.
And let's look at what market are doing right now. There is a correction. We have seen pressure at higher levels in Nifty as well as Sensex. Mid caps are doing better than index, I would say. Nifty has fallen by around 0.25%. If you look at Nifty Bank, that is also not doing well. Yesterday, it was the banking sector that really led the move. Well, mid-cap index is interesting. If we could look at the intraday move in mid-cap, because last when I checked, Nifty, the mid-cap was actually up by 0.5%, and now we see it is actually in red. You look at Nifty mid-100 free float index as well, which is down by 8 points now. So there is some profit booking in mid-cap space. If possible, we should look at what's happening to the advanced decline ratio. In the meantime, the key buzzing sector today is actually healthcare, led by DB's Lab, but also Aurobindo, and a whole lot of stocks are doing well. Well, this is the advanced decline ratio that tells you, the market undertone kind of shifting towards negative in last half an hour of trade or so. For the first time in the day, we have seen this actually. So we're talking about healthcare. We have a lot of healthcare stocks, pharma stocks doing well, and also NBFCs. AB Capital is one, Edelweiss is the other one that I have spotted in today's trade. So while PSU banks have corrected, NBFCs is the area where we have seen a lot of profit booking, and that segment is today moving up.
All right, so that's about the market. Some sort of profit booking has been seen after both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty touched their record high levels. It's time to get our guest on board. We've got Jay Thakur, CMT Assistant Vice President Equity Research from Anand Rathi, and also joining us right here in the studio is Avinash Koraksakar, Research Head at Joinder Capital. Good afternoon to both of you gentlemen, and thanks a lot for joining us today on Bloomberg Quint. Let me take the first query. This one comes from Surinder, who's written to us on Facebook. He has 1,200 shares of Syntex Plastics, which he bought at a price of 90 rupees. With a long-term view, he wants to know whether he should hold or add more. Let's just see where the stock is actually trading. Syntex Plastics, okay, it's below the buy price of 90. It's 86.80. Avinash, do you think he should add more?
I think Q2 numbers, which came for the first time on a standalone basis, I think were quite disappointing. If you look at both the top line as well as the EBITDA improvement, I would believe that, taking a longer term perspective, Syntex Plastic is a very large vendor to most of the automobile four-wheeler companies. Definitely has a European market exposure also. So, I mean, if the investor has a slightly longer term time frame, I think he can definitely acquire. FY18 is going to be a very challenging year. I don't think the third and the fourth quarter are going to be very strong. But yes, FY19 should be a lot better. So, over the next 12-15 months, one could expect a better, decent upside. But yes, in the near term, there could be some pain on the margins.
People were hoping for another Neel Kamal in this stock, actually. Exactly. But if you look at the results, I was just looking at the P&L and balance sheet. Is it kind of over-leveraged or rather over-capitalized company, so to say? Will it take a lot longer for this to, give you decent ROA and ROE so that it really gives you the return that we are expecting?
No, I think obviously debt on the balance sheet is pretty large. It's roughly more than 5,500 crores. And when the division happened, both the companies had similar equity, and the debt on the balance sheet, people presume that large amount of debt could go to Syntex Industries. So I would believe that, yes, I mean, the debt on the balance sheet would ensure that, the return on capital employed could take a long time to get more and better and attractive. So I would believe that Pradeep, FY19 could be a year where possibly one could expect some sort of operating leverage and some benefit coming down on the ROE and the return on capital employed level. So till that time, I think the stock could underperform. Markets were obviously expecting a lot, but were clearly disappointed.
Okay, moving on. Madhur Chaudhary writes to us on Twitter, and he wants to invest in auto space and wants to know between Tata Motors and M&M, which companies would be a better bet in the long term. So again, a long-term call. Avinash, what do you say?
I think clearly, I think if you look at the longer term scenario, both the companies would do well. But Tata Motors definitely looks a lot better. I think within the domestic business, the passenger car business and the commercial vehicle business is now slowly turning around. In fact, the CV business is showing clear sign of improvement in the domestic market. The international market, which is the Land Rover and the JLR business, also continues to do well. So I think if one were to take a next 18 to 24-month call, I think Tata Motors presents a better opportunity. And I would believe that, I think this is one stock which could definitely do well, because in terms of valuations compared to M&M, I think Tata Motors definitely has a better risk-reward kind of ratio.
All right, so Avinash likes Tata Motors compared to M&M in the auto space. Let's take another query. This one comes from Ramesh Jasim, who writes to us on Facebook. He wants to know if this is the right time to invest in GVK Power and Infra with a long-term view. And this is not the first time, Pradeep, we're getting a query on GVK Power. I remember last few days, a lot of viewers have written to us asking the prospects of GVK Power. Avinash, this is a company, I believe it touched 52-week low of 5 rupees in the month of May, and from thereabouts, it's now trading around those levels of 16 to 17. And I guess most of the retail investors, they get attracted when a stock price falls so much. What do you think it should do?
No, I think clearly, at the current valuations, I wouldn't suggest, the investor to get in, because clearly we have seen a lot of large HNIs getting into the counter, and the stock has actually moved up on expectations that some amount of asset sales would, reduce the debt on the balance sheet. Till the time we don't see any concrete moves from the company, I would believe that it's better to be a little careful, because at these levels, I would not be surprised that earnings traction at the net level would take a long time to come in. It's only the event trigger which would play out. So probably, wait for some time. If it does come down to say 12-13 rupees, then possibly it could be a kind of a good entry based on the asset sell-off.
It's only the second day when it is not locked on the upper circuit, but incidentally it's locked on the lower circuit. So it has seen some 10 to 15 upper circuits actually. I don't exactly remember for how many days it was locked on upper circuit. So let's move on and get in some of the live queries coming on Facebook and Twitter. Prajwal Ghosh wants to invest in Dwarikesh Sugar with a 12 to 18 months view. Please advise. Again, a long-term query. I'll have to come back to you, Avinash.
I think sugar companies have been in the focus largely because hopefully, I think now ethanol prices have been raised. So I would, advise the investor that if he can invest in integrated players like say a Balrampur Chini, which is slightly better than say a Dwarikesh. And I would believe that here the business is more de-risk. It's basically a more broad-based structure. And I think if the investor has a slightly longer-term view, say 12 to 18 months, I think a good amount of money can be made in something like a Balrampur Chini. That would be a better choice as compared to Dwarikesh.
All right, that's the view coming for Dwarikesh Sugar. Let's take another query. This one comes from Afan Ahmed. He's asking if this is the right time to invest in IDFC. Let me take this question to Jay Thakkar. Jay, on the charts, do you think it would be wise to take any sort of position in IDFC at current levels?
Hi, good afternoon, Navneet. Well, I think, why not? This stock, in fact, has provided a very good breakout from a symmetrical triangular pattern. I know that, post the Shriram and IDFC deal got called off, we saw some, profit booking, or I would say some sell-off coming in this stock. But then what has happened is it has not broken its crucial moving averages support. It has not even, in fact, moved again back into the triangular pattern from which it had broken out. So I think overall the chart structure still is quite positive. The lower levels, I would say the support levels are still holding up. So I think 59, 58 is a good support zone for the short-term traders. For the medium-term or the positional traders, I would say 53 is a very good support until these levels are held. I think for the short-term, we can see this stock again zooming towards the levels of 72, 73, and for the medium-term, I would say it can go and surpass the levels of 80, 85 as well. So I think with these stop losses, one can continue holding it.
Okay, so fine, you can hold on to this stock, but doesn't look like this is the right time to invest, Jay. You don't really sound very positive. Our fund doesn't really have a position. He wants to get in.
Okay, you see, for the long term, I'm not that sure as of now, Pradeep, because there is nothing on charts wherein I could say, with higher probability that the chance of a long-term bottom being in place is quite high. I think for the short term, just because we have seen a breakout from a symmetrical triangular pattern, there exists a probability that one can have a trade at least for the short to medium term. So not from an investment point of view, but from a trading point of view, definitely the risk reward is still in favor of the bulls.
Okay, so you can trade but don't think of investing as yet. That is the call on IDFC. Manoj Sharma, he has bought Transport Corporation of India, that's the stock, at 286 with a 1-year view. He wants to know whether he should hold on or exit Transport Corporation. Avinash, do you track it?
I think, Pradeep, this is one company which operates in the logistics space, and I would believe that if the investor has a slightly longer term horizon, maybe 1 year, maybe a little short, considering the fact that most of the GST kind of factors seem to have played out. I think I would be more comfortable looking at TCI from a slightly longer term horizon. They have a very well laid out structure in the road logistic kind of market, and hopefully margins should improve after FY18. FY18 will be a first year where GST has got implemented, and there could be some pain points in terms of margins and in terms of the business in the current year.
Interestingly, Avinash, we were just chatting with the management of TCI Express a while back. They also posted good set of numbers, but I think if you compare sequentially, they said it's a seasonally not such a strong quarter. Though GST implementation is positive for the entire logistics space, but the management was not quite happy with the kind of compliance cost now they have to bear, because that's what they were complaining about, that the compliance cost is going up for them. But do you think from a longer term perspective, net, the numbers will start to reflect maybe in 3 to 4 quarters then?
Yeah, I think, obviously in the near term, there could be a pain point as what the management also mentioned. So I think clearly FY19 could be a better year. I think FY18 may not be the right way to look at it, because, GST got implemented from July. So obviously, after say a couple of quarters, or maybe, 2-3 quarters to be specific, I think you could see definitely both the top line as well as margin improvement kicking in. So FY19 should be a good year compared to, the previous year.
All right, that's the view on logistic player TCI. Let's take more query from Facebook. These are all the live queries that we are getting. Let me take Ritwik's query. He's bought 1,000 shares of Apollo Tyres, which he's bought at a price of 254, and he's got a 3-month view here. He wants to know what should he do with this. Jay, view on Apollo Tyres on the charts. He's bought it at 254, and the stock has reacted negatively to its earnings. It's currently trading at 240. Do you think he should exit?
Absolutely, see, overall, this is one stock which has not performed that well, I would say, in this category or in this sector. And I would say the way the stock has broken clearly is bearish, head and shoulders on the lower side, almost attempted to retest the levels, and it's again heading lower, forming low tops and low bottom. The channel is falling, in fact, I would say in a downward sloping channel as well, wherein the target on the lower side, at least in the short term, comes to around 220. And if it manages to hold 220, then it's fine, or else it will, inch towards the levels of around, say, 202 or 190 as well. So I think going forward, at least for the short to medium term, the trend is absolutely negative. The indicators have gone into the sell mode on the weekly charts. I think exiting from these levels is quite prudent. In fact, the aggressive traders, I would say, can initiate short as well, with a stop loss of around, say, 252, targeting around 220 initially, and thereafter 202.
Okay, so let me get out of Apollo Tyres. That's the advice coming from Jay for you. Well, next call is from Vishal Jain. Vishal has written to us on Tata Global Beverages. That's the stock he is holding. His cost is 230. He wants to know hold or exit. Jay, what's your advice?
Well, I think, Pradeep, this is one stock which I really like in this sector, and this stock has been performing quite well. Having provided a breakout from a clear inverse head and shoulders pattern, and is almost on the verge of achieving his aggressive target as well of around 240 on the upside. But I still believe that the way the impulses have been forming on this in this chart, the minimum channel target on the upside comes to around 276-77 levels. So I think one can continue holding this stock. Someone wants to really buy it, can buy at these levels as well. I think the stop loss on the low side should be placed at 214, and continue to ride this trend towards the levels of 272, 275.
Okay, let's take another query. This one comes from Ravi Kumar, who's joined us live on Facebook. He's got 200 stocks of Workhard, which he bought at a price of 850 each. He wants to know what should he do. He's not given his time period here. But Avinash, the entire pharma space seems to be buzzing. Anything to read there, because we know that the stocks have corrected a lot. Specifically on Workhard, what's the view? Because I think the stock's trading way below his buy price of 850.
No, I think, Navneet, I think if you see the quarterly numbers, again, disappointing set of numbers, both on the top line as well as on the profitability front. This time, the company posted a small loss, and I think clearly operationally, Workhard seems to have not got it right. I think most of their facilities are yet not cleared by the FDA. I would believe that, if he still wants to remain invested in the pharma sector, I think Aurobindo presents a better opportunity. I think clearly it would probably take a long time for Workhard to come out of all these regulatory hurdles. So it's better to look at Aurobindo. I think from a 12 to 18 month horizon, Aurobindo could offer a better risk reward.
DVs.
I think DVs actually was a big surprise, Pradeep. Today, I think nobody expected the import alert.
Is not able to get the clearances, and DVs has got it.
Yeah. No, but that is really surprising, to get a import alert off in such a short time.
So you look to buy into DVs maybe on a decline?
On a decline, definitely. I think, today the stock has moved up by almost 15-16%. So I think if it comes out cut down, definitely it would present a good opportunity, because most of the worries were around the Vizag unit, and this now seems to have got cleared.
Okay. So let's move on, and next query is from Raj Shah. Well, I can't really read it. You'll have to.
All right, this one comes from Raj Shah. He wants to invest in Ajmera Realty, and he has a long-term view. He's asking if this is the right time to invest. Avinash, view on Ajmera Realty. If not this, any other counter in the realty space, because that index has been buzzing in the past few days.
No, I think as far as a real estate play is concerned, I would prefer stocks like Oberoi Realty or Godrej Properties. These are definitely well positioned players, and I think in terms of their balance sheets, both of them are very low leveraged. Clearly, in terms of liquidity and in terms of the institutional appetite, also these two companies present a better opportunity. So I would believe that within the real estate space, investors should actually focus on these quality names and take a slightly medium to long term kind of time horizon.
Okay, let's move on. On Facebook, Shailesh Pawar has joined us live. He wants to know about Inox Wind. He has 100 shares bought at 140. Jay, what do you advise?
Well, this stock in fact is quite buzzing since a couple of trading sessions, Pradeep. I would say for the short term, this stock has definitely provided a very good breakout from a double bottom pattern, and the target on the upside for the same, would come to the levels of say 180 initially, 180.85, and thereafter, if it manages to surpass those levels, then it can also touch 210. But I think 180 is a decent target for this stock. I think if it moves around those levels, then one should definitely book profits, because see, since so many months or quarters, I would say rather years, this stock has been falling, and this is the first time we have seen this kind of a good reversal happening. So till the first impulse doesn't form really, I think this should be taken only as a trading bet and not an investment bet. Once we have the first impulse, then I think the long term targets and the long term view will be quite clear. So as of now, I would say anyone holding this stock should just eye for around 185 on the upside. But yes, on the lower side, I would say the neckline of the double top pattern, double bottom pattern, in fact, comes to around 134.35 zone. On a closing basis, one should place the stop loss at these levels and target the upside levels.
All right, so the target which Jay is giving on Inox Wind is about 180 on the upside. Keshav Rana has written to us. He's bought Hiro Motor Corp at a price of 3835. He wants to know what should he do, and I believe Hiro Motor Corp is trading below his buy price right now. Jay, what do you think he should do on the charts? Do you see more correction for Hiro Motor Corp?
Absolutely, but I would say for the short term only. For the medium term, I think this stock still looks quite good, and I think we can see a good upside coming in this stock. For the short term, yes, it has had risen in a corrective form. So I believe that on the lower side we can see the levels of around say 3600 or so, but I am not looking anything beyond below those levels. So I think if someone can really hold on to till those levels, then one can continue to hold, because eventually the target for the medium term comes to around 4150, 4200 zone. That's the upper end of the rising channel. Only below 3600, I would say the entire chart structure would in fact reverse from up to down, and thereafter we can see this stock falling back to the previous lower end of the range that comes to around 3250. So I think till 36 levels are held, continue holding this stock for 4200, and if 36 breaks, then only exit.
3600, that's the stop loss level for you on Hiro Motor. Kalpesh Patel is holding on to Kaveri Seeds. He has bought at 560. What's your advice, Jay, on Kaveri Seeds?
Well, I think this is one stock, Pradeep, which has seen a really sharp correction, and post that we haven't seen that kind of a sharp move. In fact, earlier which we used to see in Kaveri Seeds, but then overall, I would say the chart structure is quite bullish for this stock. As far as the medium-term trend is concerned, I am quite bullish in this stock. I think going forward, on the low side, we can see this stock again forming a base around the levels of 520 odd zone. At these levels, still it's a buy for me. I think even if it falls further from here on, I think till 520 levels are not broken positionally, I think the overall target for me comes to around 630. So I think one can continue holding this stock. Since it has broken, or I would say fallen quite sharply, it is taking some time to recover. But once it comes into a good momentum, I would say rather the monthly momentum comes into the buy mode, then we could see actually that kind of sharp move on the upside. So I don't think any problem as of now till 520 levels are held.
Okay. Let's take Kirti Mishra's query. She's bought Marksans Pharma at 47.8. She wants to know what should she do. Another query from the pharma space, Avinash. What do you think she should do?
No, I think within the pharma space, Markson is definitely a mid-sized pharma name, and which I would believe that doesn't have that kind of regulatory hurdle and has delivered on the earnings and on the top line quite commendably. Taking a long-term view, Navneet, I think one can definitely hold on. One could look at possibly looking at a good risk-reward, possibly if the time horizon is between 12 to 15 months. So clearly hold on. I think better numbers could come in not only for FY18 but FY19 also.
Okay, so it's a hold call on Marksans. Dheeraj Reddy is writing to us, and he's disappointed by Mahindra Holidays numbers. He has bought at 386, and yesterday the results showed a loss 3.5%. Was that an increase or decline? I don't recollect the numbers actually, but numbers were disappointing. So now he wants to know whether he should stay on or exit.
No, I think clearly in terms of timeshare, Pradeep, Mahindra Holidays has got a very large geographical reach, and I would believe that looking at just one quarter numbers, if the investor has a slightly medium to long term scenario, he should not get worried, because this is one player which I believe is going to do reasonably well if one were to take the next 1 to 2 years. I would believe that rather than booking out for loss, this is one business which is going to grow quite commendably. Holiday has become a very solid business for them, and I think in terms of their network, they are gradually adding more resorts to their overall geographical reach. So continue to hold on and take a slightly longer term view. I think things should definitely get better in the second half of FY18 and FY19.
Okay. Abhinav Kumawat has written to us. He's got one lot of Bank of Baroda futures on the long side. He wants to know what should he do. Jay, Bank of Baroda on the chart, how does it look?
Well, I think Bank of Baroda overall seems to have achieved its short-term target on the upside, and I think if someone is really holding this stock, then I think till on the upside 195 levels are not taken off. Overall, short-term trend seems to be quite negative, or else I would say of consolidation. It may consolidate for some time, if not going or falling further till 195 levels are not taken off, because we have seen that sharp bounce coming in this stock, but it has exactly taken resistance around the previous swings. So I think 195 really needs to be taken off in order for this stock to thereafter inch towards the levels of 235 to 40. So as of now, I would say it's looking sideways to negative. That clearly means that one should be away from the long positions. In fact, get into some better momentum stocks. As far as banking names are concerned, two stocks which I like among the PSUs, that's SBI, and among the private sector I would be saying ICICI Bank. So these are the two stocks which are clearly in an upward momentum, strong upward momentum I would say. So one can also shift position from BOB to SBI or ICICI.
Okay, instead of Bank of Baroda, you should be holding on to ICICI or SBI. That's the call for you. Well, Sonata Software is the stock that Somesh Dora is tracking. He bought at 186, and also VGuard at 226. He's looking for a short-term view on both these stocks. Jay, if you could look at the charts of Sonata and VGuard and advise him.
Sure, Pradeep. Sonata Software really looks good. I think, recently the stock has in fact had formed a good falling wedge pattern from which it has broken on the upside. So I think, going forward we can see the stock, taking off its previous swing highs as well, which were around say 225 or so. And I think the target on the upside minimum that comes clearly, as far as even if I take the previous channel targets, then those levels comes to around 242. So I think yes, it's a good buy. And on the lower side, I think that now the short-term support is pegged at around 167. So till those levels are not broken, overall trend really remains positive for short to medium term. As far as Workhard is concerned, I think this stock too has provided a very good breakout on the upside. I believe one can see the levels of around 323 also. This stock has provided a very good breakout from a symmetrical triangular pattern, has been forming good high tops and high bottom. The indicators are absolutely bullish, and the stock is trading, of course, above short-term moving averages. So I was on the lower side, 199 is a really good support. Till those levels are held, one can continue to ride on to his uptrend towards the levels of 323.
I don't know if we've taken Shivakant Singh's query, Pradeep. His query is on Tata Steel.
No, we haven't.
Okay. So he's bought Tata Steel at a price of 704. He wants to know what should he do with this investment. Avinash, views on Tata Steel?
No, I think, Navneet, clearly numbers which came out in the second quarter were slightly disappointing, both on the EBITDA front as well as on the European operations front. So I would presume that, within the metal space, the Tata Steel stock has actually outperformed quite significantly. So I think keeping a longer term time frame, I think definitely as long as metal prices continue to remain firm, Tata Steel would also get the benefit. And in fact, they've also mentioned that the European operations would actually look turning around and making decent kind of margins, from the second half of FY18. So continue to hold on, but take a slightly longer term view. Maybe in the near term the stock may not perform, but over the longer term, this definitely is a good stock to hold in one's portfolio.
All right.
Okay.
So,
well, just one query that is on NCC from Bhavani Shankar Behera. Jay, because I remember you were one of the early spotters on this counter. Now, are you still bullish? And he's looking for a short-term trade, actually 1 to 2 months. Would you advise a long trade in NCC?
Thanks, for remembering that, Pradeep. Of course, I would say that yes, this stock recently too has provided a very good breakout. Post we've seen that, package that had come out from the government, we have seen a good run-up coming, and a stock, in fact, picking up good momentum. I would say on the lower side, this stock has a very good support around 102, 103 zones. That's the support, I would say, and with that as a stop loss, one can continue holding this. I believe that, even for the medium to long term, Pradeep, this stock seems to have bottomed out, completed its wave 2, and, wave 3 on the upside seems to have started. So it's a long move now which is expected in NCC. For the short term, of course, we can see the levels of around 124, 125. And I would say the risk reward is only 1:2, 1:1. But for a medium to long term, Pradeep, I would say that this stock again can be one of the multi-baggers.
all right. So Jay is still betting on that counter. Watch out for 124. That's the near-term target which he's given on NCC. On that note, we'll thank our guests. Thank you, Avinash and Jay, for helping our viewers with their queries. That's all that we have on this edition of Ask BQ.
But remember, we are just a tweet, post or call away, so keep your queries coming, and we promise to address all of them through our shows. You can also log on to bloombergquint.com and search for #AskBQ and get answers to all the queries that were discussed on the show. Power Lunch is up next. Keep watching Bloomberg Quint Live.